It's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to this edition of Q&A with the Coach, and thanks to xmartial.com for this sweet t-shirt. Put your gi on. It's cuddle time. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is just cuddling, guys. The best kind of cuddling. The best kind of cuddling. So go to xmartial.com, get yourself some sweet merch like this t-shirt, some rash guards, some shorts, spats, gloves, fight training gear. You know you want it. They sell the good stuff. And use my code Ramsey10 for 10% off everything on your entire purchase. That's a pretty sweet deal. If I do say so myself, once again, that's Ramsey10 for 10% off everything at xmartial.com. Now on with the questions. Our first question today comes from Gaius Incognitus, who says, "You really read all the comments? ? Yes. Yes, I do. This surprises a lot of people because many YouTubers don't read the comments and don't actually interact with their audience, which is odd. It's kind of funny how some of these guys get enormously popular, get an incredible number of comments directed at that person that they never actually read or talk to. So, I don't know, that's weird to me. But there's a second part to this question which we're going to address today. Then I have a Q&A for the coach question, he says. What's your take on the sparring is not that important idea? I think it's definitely necessary to a point, but it seems that drilling techniques with progressively more resistance usually becomes more beneficial after you're comfortable with the chaos of free sparring. So this idea that sparring isn't important, or that we... there was a video that Jesse Enkamp put out recently, and because of that, I've received a ton of similar questions to this. And in that video, he takes a very roundabout, long-winded way of saying that professional fighters, at this point in time, a lot of them are dialing back the hard sparring. Not that they're not sparring anymore, even though that is the language some of them are using, but they're not hard sparring anymore. So we've spoken about this on my channel before. If you watch my video about killer instinct, developing killer instinct, we talk about this quite a bit. It's a 44-minute video, if memory serves. And a lot of people shy away from the long videos. I got a video comment recently saying, Ramsey, your videos are too short. You should make longer ones. That was the most shocking comment I've ever received. Then again, it was on a short 1.5-minute video clip taken from a much longer one. Anyway, so Robbie Lawler said that he doesn't spar anymore. And by that, he meant that he doesn't do hard sparring anymore. A lot of other UFC fighters have used similar language. They're not sparring anymore, meaning they're not doing hard sparring anymore. Meaning what they're doing in the gym is light, technical, positional sparring to work on very specific areas of their game to prep for fights. Why do they take out the hard sparring element? Why? They already know how to fight. Take Robbie Lawler, for example. He's been fighting in the UFC for over 20 years. He's been doing this for a while. He doesn't have to be constantly reminded what it feels like to get punched in the head. He already knows. And this is a commonality with experienced fighters. They realize after a while, hey, there is no point to getting into gym fights, which is what a lot of people think sparring is. Sparring isn't a fight. Sparring is supposed to be sharing and learning technique and honing your craft. But since it looks a lot like fighting, people often make that mistake and conflate the two. So, in that video where Jesse Enkamp clipped a lot of fighters saying they don't spar anymore, what they are talking about is they don't do hard sparring. They don't do gym fights anymore. And, man, Jesse's formula is quite interesting, and a lot of traditional martial artists use a similar one where they take a basic combat sports concept like you don't need to get punched repeatedly in the head to know what a punch feels like. And then they twist that into, this is actually an application of an ancient karate technique called, and then, throw in some Japanese words. And then the nerds eat that up like, yeah, this is the thing I do, so therefore I'm just as good as Robbie Lawler. Careful with that. The neighborhood of make-believe is a fun place to visit, but you don't want to live there. Is my microphone slowly getting closer and closer to my... Oh, it's... We need to adjust this. What's happening? Okay, microphone. Stay in place. Let me tighten these things up. Maybe that will help. Oh no, it's slipping off the desk. We gotta cut this short. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully we fixed the microphone. Anyway, this is a message I've been preaching on this channel for 18 years. 18 years here on YouTube, longer than a lot of you have been alive. I've been telling you to not get into gym fights. How many videos, how many dozens and dozens of videos have I told you that you don't need to do an exorbitant amount of hard sparring? You need to know what a fight is like. You do need to know what it's like to get punched before you actually get into a fight if you hope to have some success. But you don't need to have that experience again and again and again and again. There are only so many hits you can take, man. So if you have had a dozen fights, you don't need to have a dozen more gym fights. If you've had a whole UFC career, you don't need to keep doing that stuff. But what if you're just an average dude who has very limited experience and you just want to have, you want to be one of those one and done guys who does one amateur fight, or maybe a couple, and you want to know how much hard sparring should you actually do before your fight? Maybe a little bit, but honestly, your first 10 fights are going to suck. And we've covered this a bunch of times too. Your first 10 fights are going to suck. Whether you win or lose, your performance is going to be suboptimal. And years from now, you will look back on that. Maybe moments from that fight, you will look back on it and think, dang, I did everything wrong. That's not how I pictured it in my mind. That's not the way I wanted it to go. Oof. My abilities are not what I thought they were. Everything's going to be wrong. People always want the perfect performance for their first fight, and so they want to do everything right, and you'll do everything wrong. You will. It is inevitable. So just accept the chaos of that moment. Do your best, of course, but accept the chaos of it. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.